what's success look like? It looks like improvement. It looks like us getting better, not making the same mistakes we made in that last game, doing a better job identifying what's working for us and what's not.
You're 1-for-1 predicting plays. Moore in rhythm. End zone! Sadiq! Did he get there? Yes! Touchdown!
It's the response Oregon fans were looking for. After a disappointing loss a week ago, Oregon football puts on a clinic in its first ever meeting with the Scarlet Knights. Plus, over in Corvallis, the Beavers look to avoid becoming the fourth team in program history to fall to 0-8 with a new head coach and plenty of changes to go around. What will this team look like moving forward? Find out right now.
Now, this is College Football Game Night.
Welcome back for another edition of the College Football Game Night and another wild weekend of madness on the gridiron. I'm Brett Taylor. 6 teams in the top 25 of the AP heading into the late afternoon games were thrown onto the chopping block, either falling to unranked teams or teams that were lower ranked with them. Oregon football looking to become the latest victim on the road on this weekend of madness in the land of the Scarlet Knights. Let's take a trip out east to New Jersey. Number 8, Oregon, taking on Rutgers. Opening drive for the Ducks, disaster. Gary Bryant Jr., loosey-goosey with the ball, popped out in the air and taken by Rutgers. Not the start you want to see as an Oregon fan. Rutgers would get a field goal. Very next Ducks drive, Noah Whittington had enough of the mistakes, taking matters into his own hands. 68 yards worth down to the back of the end zone he goes. It's a touchdown for the Ducks, and Oregon responds with a thunderous applause. So you know what? Let's keep that momentum going. Oregon back to work. It's Dante Moore showing why he's a Heisman candidate this season. The bullseye to Kenyon Sadiq. Money, money, money. Money. Oregon will take a 2-score lead, but hungry for more. The defense getting into the action. Amari Washington, the pass deflection. Blake Burgess, the pick. Oregon will take on over. Going for the jugular on the next drive. The flea flicker. Ducks getting creative. It's Moore. Back to Sadiq. Leaping catch. And what a snag by the veteran tight end for one of the top plays in the nation this weekend. Dan Lanning said earlier this week he wanted a response after last weekend. He got it. Dante Moore, as perfect as you could get in the first half. 14 of 18, 279 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air. At one point, he made 6 straight completions of 20 yards or more in that second quarter. 8 different players getting into the action in the passing game, led by Kenyon Sadiq and DeCorian Moore. And how about the defense, folks? 3 points allowed, 2 takeaways, near perfection by the Ducks in all 3 phases of the game, looking to make history in the second half as Oregon gets straight back to work right where they left off. The Dante Moore show in the first 2 quarters, the Jordan Davison show to start the third. Wide open space for Davison up the gut. Don't know how he snuck through that hole, but he found a way all the way down to the 20-yard line of the Scarlet Knights. Remember, this kid is just a freshman, looking like a vet. Very next play, it's Davison up the gut again. If it worked the first time, it's certainly going to work the second. 20-yard house call, 8th touchdown by the freshman this season. He's close to knocking on the door of history himself, earning all of the celebrations this season. Later in the third, it's the other freshman getting into the action. Dare Hill Jr. getting into the fun down the right field side, breaking tackles and keeping the legs churning all the way to the back of the end zone. Oregon football sending a message this weekend. Last week wasn't the standard. This is the Duck definitely getting his workout in New Jersey. Going to be shredded after this game as Oregon responds exactly how they needed to on the road as they pick up a historic win on a historic night for the team. So many different Ducks having success, but as a team collectively, an incredible performance. Second most total yards on the road in program history with 750, the 4th most ever in the Ducks for program history. Dante Moore, just sensational. 15 of 20, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. And how about the combined effort of the Oregon rushing attack? 415 yards on the ground, the 11th most in program history, 5th most on the road. The Ducks needed to respond in this game, and they did just that. While several teams across the nation, they faltered, giving Oregon a chance to potentially move up in the AP Top 25 later on this week. 6 teams again in the Top 25 fall on Saturday, including 3 teams ahead of them. That includes Miami, Ole Miss, and Texas Tech. So the madness in full effect this weekend with a shakeup potentially in the latest rankings coming our way and has the chance to put 3 Big Ten teams in the top 25 next week. It's going to be up to the voters, but if there's one thing that Oregon showed tonight, it's that despite a loss a week ago, They deserve to be a top 5 ranked team after a performance like tonight. Now, normally we would go over to Corvallis and get an update from that game against Lafayette. We will be hearing from Olivia Cleary in just the next couple of moments after the break. But first, we're going to head down to Ashland, where the Southern Oregon Raiders were back at home looking for their first back-to-back wins this season and in town to take them on in-state rival Eastern Oregon. Both teams needing a win to stay alive for the race and a potential playoff spot. So let's jump straight on over to Radium Stadium. Rockin' as always in Southern Oregon. It didn't seem to help SOU much in the first half. First possession, Don Montiel taken down in the backfield to strip sack on 4th down. That gives the Mountaineers excellent field position, which they're going to take full advantage of. Elia Kirasimayasia follows his blockers and finds the end zone. Early success for EOU and nothing for the Raiders. SOU just not getting anything on offense, but the defense doing their job, forcing the fumble, a bright spot amongst the struggles. Several possessions later, SOU driving the ball. It's Montiel getting ready to unload the arm to the end zone for the jump ball, and it's Jason Grant for EOU who comes down with the pick. The Raider D continuing to do its job, but just on the offense, nothing going right for this team. Going to the broadcast highlights, it's Montiel looking for Dawson Douglas. Picked off again. So the struggles continue for the Raiders in the first half as SAU finds themselves after 2 quarters down by just a single score with no points to speak of. Donovan Glover leading all backs and receivers in total yards, 7 catches for 47 for him. Montiel just 14 of 26, 120 yards, and the 2 picks in the first half. A bright spot though, after giving up the touchdown on the first drive, that Raider defense stepping up to end the half, only allowing 35 total yards of offense. Most of that coming on that touchdown drive. So the Raiders looking for a spark to close the score gap in the second half. Both teams, first couple of possessions stalling. That's until Kiri Simasi finds Caden Malisis, who takes it off for a 71-yard gain. That would set up then a quick little short pass to Dallin Knighton. And all of a sudden, the Mountaineers are up 14-0. How it would be a quick one, as on the ensuing kickoff, Brandon Marthel making his presence known on the field, breaking the tackles, off to the races, and he's going to make his way all the way into the touchdown. No one is going to catch him. 93-yard house call, and the Raiders are right back in it. Next Eastern Oregon possession, it's Kiri Simasi calling his own number for his 2nd rushing touchdown of the day, 3rd in total. And with the 4th quarter winding down, the Raiders with little time left trying to find some magic. Montiel sacked in the backfield on 4th down, and that would essentially seal the dub for Eastern Oregon. Here's head coach Burke Brown on the offensive struggles from Saturday.
Kind of the story of our year where we can move the ball, we can get to the other side of the 40, and then we stall out. We had some opportunities for field goals, and then, we get sacked or, a negative happens. And so we got to find ways to fix things and put our players in a position to make a play.
So the Raiders now drop to 2-5 on the year, 1-2 in conference play. And for the first time this year, the offense fails to put up any points on the board. The only scored, of course, that kickoff return you just saw from Brandon Marthel. What makes this loss extra frustrating, though, the Raiders outgaining the Mountaineers while only giving up 192 total yards on offense, 124 of those coming on just 2 plays. Luke Doten joins us from Raider Stadium with the game plan for the team moving forward for the rest of this season.
The SOU Raiders fall to in-state rival Eastern Oregon 21-7, and before the 4th quarter winded all the way down, you could tell just looking and listening at the Raiders sideline that this one was one of the ones that hurts the most this season. This right here sums it up. A tired and injured Raider group unable to pull away with a win despite better statistical performances in almost every category. At some points during this game, the defense looking unstoppable and impossible to score on. Moments later, a long play, setting up an Eastern Oregon touchdown. While they allowed 3 touchdowns, Eastern Oregon was only able to put up 192 yards of offense, and outside of those 3 drives, couldn't get anything going against this Raider defense. The big men in the trenches continue to snuff the run week after week, but head coach Burke Brown telling me he knows it's not enough.
You can't give up 2 big plays that lead to two scores that end up being the winning scores. But up front, I thought we did a good job pressuring him, being in his face, stopping the run. Up front, I thought we played really, really well.
The only Raider touchdown, the Brandon Barthel kickoff return, breathing life into the Raiders sideline. but not enough to get the offense going. Despite that, some players quietly had great performances today. Freshman wide receiver Donovan Glover caught 10 passes, the first Raider to have double-digit receptions this season. Before exiting with an ankle injury, redshirt freshman running back Cohen Coloma getting a majority of the carries. On 9 attempts, he ran for 39 yards. But like the rest of the offense, most of that production came with a longer field. The Raiders threatened to score throughout the entire game, but when they got within field goal range, negative plays like sacks or interceptions came back to bite them. Brown telling me he and the coaching staff will have to find an answer to that before their next game. The Raiders are going to get back to the drawing board and try and make some adjustments for their last 3 games of the year, starting on the road against Arizona Christian next week, at home against Carroll the week after, and then the season finale on the road against College of Idaho. In Ashland, I'm Luke Doten.
Once again, Luke Doten joining us from Ashland. Thank you, Luke. But when we come back, we got a whole lot more to cover as we've got a live report from Research Stadium where Oregon State football is hoping to still pick up its first win of the season, tied right now with the second quarter, drawing close to an end of halftime. Don't go anywhere, though. The College Football Game Night Show will be right back.